When you're doing a 1031 exchange, you want to go from apples to apples. If Stephon owns the relinquished property, Stephon has to buy the replacement property. Maybe Stephon bought the property prior to marriage and owns it in his own name alone, without his spouse in title. Now, whose property is it for federal tax purposes? In non-community property states, I would say a spouse that is married still owns the property and their spouse only has an intangible, inchoate, or potential interest in their property. Until a divorce decree or judge says that non-titled spouse has an interest in the property, they don't have an interest in the property. So, when Stephon sells the relinquished property, Stephon should be the party that purchases the replacement property, not Stephon and his spouse, because Stephon's exchange funds need to be used exclusively for the purchase of his replacement property. He can't sidetrack or siphon off some of his equity to pay for his spouse's portion of the property that's being purchased. Now, what if the spouse absolutely wants to go into title with you? Perhaps the spouse can pony up some money and pay for their proportionate share of the property. Maybe it's 99% Stephon and 1% Stephon's spouse, and that money that is contributed comes from the spouse's own funds, whereas the 1031 funds are used exclusively for the 1031 exchange customer's portion of the purchase. That way we can have both spouses on title, which may be a requirement of your lender, but we aren't jeopardizing the exchange, provided you're buying a property of equal or greater value and that your portion of that property exceeds the value of what was relinquished, and furthermore that all of your proceeds, your equity, is used exclusively for your 1031 and not for someone else's seat at the table. Now, laws differ from state to state. In community property states, where a spouse may be considered to have an ownership interest in the real estate, even if they're not in title, that can change this analysis and this dynamic. So it's always important to consult with local counsel, local tax advisors in the location where the property is located so that you can get the best advice specific to your situation.